It was another quiet morning in Clearwater, a town where the days were slow, the faces were familiar, and stories hid behind every smile. The diner on Main Street glowed softly through the morning mist, the smell of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the gentle sizzle of eggs on the griddle. Outside, rain traced silver lines down the fogged-up windows. Inside, Mia moved gracefully between tables, her blue uniform a little faded, her shoes worn from long shifts, but her heart, it was still full of light. At exactly 8:10 every morning, the diner door would creak open, and there he was, Mr. Harris, an elderly man in a gray overcoat and a brown hat, his eyes carrying the weight of years gone by. He always chose the same booth by the window, ordered the same breakfast, black coffee, scrambled eggs, and 2 slices of toast. He barely spoke. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted his cup, and sometimes he'd just stare out the window, watching the rain as if it carried the memories he once had. The other waitresses served him like any other customer. But Mia noticed something different, the loneliness behind his silence. So she began to linger. A warm smile here, an extra napkin there, sometimes a small slice of pie on the house. At first, it was just kindness, but over time, it became part of her morning, greeting him before he even ordered, keeping his coffee warm, and making sure his toast never went cold. And slowly, the quiet old man began to talk. He told her he used to be a teacher, that he'd lost his wife long ago, his children had moved far away, and his days had grown quieter than he ever expected. Mia listened, not out of pity, but because she understood. Her own life wasn't easy. Her mother was sick. Bills kept piling up. She worked double shifts, took night classes, and often went to bed hungry just to make sure her mother had enough. But every morning, no matter how tired she was, she smiled for Mr. Harris, because his presence reminded her that kindness still mattered even when life didn't feel fair. Then one cold winter morning, everything changed. Mr. Harris didn't show up. At first, she thought maybe the weather kept him home. But when his booth stayed empty for days, worry began to grow in her chest. Finally, she called the local hospital, and her heart sank. He'd been admitted after falling at home. Without a second thought, Mia ran to see him. When she entered his hospital room, he looked small or fragile. But when he saw her, his eyes softened, and his lips curved into a smile. "You didn't have to come?" he whispered. Mia smiled back, holding up a small muffin from the diner. "I know, but I wanted to." From that day on, she visited him every day, between shifts, before night classes, sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes just a few minutes of company. The nurses whispered about her, the waitress with a heart of gold. A week later, Mr. Harris returned to the diner. His steps were slow, but his eyes were brighter. When he saw Mia, he smiled and said softly, "You remind me of my daughter." Mia didn't realize how much that single sentence would mean until later. Weeks passed. The routine returned. Life felt steady again, until one morning, 8:10 came and went. The diner door opened, but it wasn't Mr. Harris. 4 men in black suits walked in, followed by 2 lawyers carrying folders. The room fell silent. "Mia?" one of them asked. She nodded nervously. "Yes, that's me." The lawyer stepped forward. "We represent Mr. Harris." He handed her a sealed envelope. "Mr. Harris passed away last week," he said softly. "He wanted us to deliver this personally." Mia froze. Her breath caught. The diner's noise faded into silence. Trembling, she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter and a folded legal document. In his letter, Mr. Harris thanked her for her kindness, her patience, her warmth. He wrote that in the final years of his life, her small gestures had reminded him that compassion still existed in a world that had forgotten it. And then came the words that made her knees weak. Mr. Harris had left her his house and a sum of money, enough to pay her mother's medical bills and finally give her peace. The lawyer added gently, "He said you were the only one who ever treated him like family." Tears filled Mia's eyes as the room blurred around her. The regulars sat in stunned silence, realizing that the quiet old man they'd barely noticed had just changed someone's life forever. That evening, Mia visited his house. It was small, lined with books and photographs of a life once full. On his desk was a framed picture, one of her and Mr. Harris, laughing over a spilled cup of coffee. He had kept it. As the sun set through the window, Mia whispered, "Thank you for everything." And in that moment, she realized something powerful. Kindness always comes back, even if not in the way we expect. She promised to honor his memory by continuing to do what she did best, spreading kindness, one small act at a time. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to HOA Chronicles, where every story reminds us of the goodness still left in this world.